You're working. Sound on.
Yes, we can hear you.
The huff and the puff. Climbing all the stairs. I plan on getting a cab back up to Neve. But no cabs, and there was a mini accident on Shalzon. So we walked there and back just to make sure that the mothers and girls got their lunch. There we go. So, first things first, we want to say hello from Harnof.
You're here in Harnof?
I have a mother and daughter's bat mitzvah program, and you can't cancel Rebbetzin Silber, especially when Geraldine wants this one to be especially for her husband's special birthday, for refuah, continued refuahs by Arichas Yamim, and to continue to bring a lot of Torah into the world. That's the first thing, and that is the sponsorship of this share today. And I will just add, if we could just add my mother, Sevia Rezel Bas Chaya Fruma. I was going to have a nice day out with her today, but Hashem decides I'll be visiting her back in Ein Karim, and then Hashem, they should just find the root of the infection, and she should continue to get well. And now I'm going back up to Neve, and it's the finishing off of our mother and daughter bat mitzvah program, which has been amazing. Rebbetzin, have you been on the roof top at Kever Rochel?
Not in a while. Did you go to Kever Rochel today?
We went to Kever Rochel yesterday, in between wherever I'm coming back on the way to Holon. And I actually called Miriam Adani because I know that one of my friends, Naomi Knobel, was doing a program, then they realized there are men there. So she had to go and sing up on the rooftop. And I was like, oh my goodness, how do you get up there?
Well, that's cleaning outline.
So it was wonderful. And Miriam got us a ishur to go for sure. Whoever's not muted, please mute yourselves. Because I can do two things at the same time, but not three. Dal, can you do the mute? Is Dalia there?
On the screen right now, get involved.
Dalia?
It's not free this morning. Please get in touch.
I'm sorry, I can't get access. I can't get access.
Why not?
Because it's not off your computer, I think.
No, it's just still going. I can't see because I'm on my phone. So I can't see from YouTube.
Oh, this morning,
Jenny.
Oh, isn't it sweet? It's Rebecca. Rebecca Tarlow.
Rebecca Tarlow. Rebecca Tarlow. Okay. Okay, sorry, Rebecca.
Please mute.
Rebecca, will you mute yourself, please, my love? Okay, on the last set of stairs before the climb. But either way, thank you to everybody, and I hope that Yitzhak Ben Beryl is doing well, Ezra Hashem, and all of Klal Yisrael. And I'm going to put myself on mute so you won't hear me huffing and puffing at the top of the stairs and then climbing up to Neve. But thank you for being here, and it's very special. And then I'm running straight out. I did have a thought of calling and saying, can I pop in? But I'm running straight to the hospital. So now you can't even mute me, and I've got to mute myself, which could be a problem. 1 second.
Okay, everybody. Yeah, can you mute yourself?
Not yet, but I'll get there.
You can look on your phone by the
Yeah, I've got to just put everything down. It's fine.
Right. Okay. Anyway, as Terry Nechama said, that we're saying this year today, also with whatever Rebbetzin Dov just said, whoever is dedicating a cheer for her husband's big birthday, and he should be well and blessed. And for Rebbetzin David's mother, before Shlema. And also Lahavdil, Yivadal, to the memory of a very precious person, Leah Bas Chaim Batya. She was a friend of mine, and I taught with her for 25 years, at least, in Ezra Academy. And she passed away yesterday. And she leaves thousands of families of students that she had influence on, that she brought them to Torah. So we'll say the shir in her memory. And Le'ili Nishmata. Really, this, Terry, if you're on, so you can hear this, you'll probably relate to this. So really, this friend of mine, Leah, who passed away, she was really more like, she was a mentor and a friend and a colleague. And because of her, I got the job teaching in this school that I got to teach in, and entered into this world of Kiruv. So really, everything that I teach, and she has a chelik and she has a portion in, and she should be a good interceder for all of her family and for her students and for her friends and for all the Jewish people. Very special neshama, very, very modest, special mother, a matriarch, a real matriarch. Okay, let's see. We're learning Tehillim. We're in Perek Yud, and we're in Pasuk Gimel. And I told you, as we're working through Tehillim, we learn different klalim, different rules. And one of the rules is that Rabbi Nachman brings, and that is whatever you learn in Tehillim, if you have a daily or a weekly or a monthly, whatever you see in Tehillim, you have to relate it to your daily life. You have to make it relevant. Tehillim is not one of those, somebody has to mute herself. Whoever, Chana, maybe that's you have to mute yourself. Tehillim isn't like an old book from old times that we're recounting history. It's current. Chana, can you mute yourself? It's current. Yes. It's alive. It's dynamic. And every time we learn Tehillim, we have to see what God is telling us in today's message, in today's Tehillim. So we'll see that today's Tehillim is all about the upcoming war with Iran. And is it a war? Is it not a war? Who is Trump? Who is he potentially? Who is he actually? Let's see the psukim. So what I said, we're in Gimel. Kilel Rashal Tavat Nafsho. When a Rasha has, he boasts about all the things that he wants. And then afterwards, he wants to make believe that he's righteous. Ni'etz Hashem, that's a mockery of God. Chadi, you still didn't mute yourself, sweetie. I mean, at least on my screen. It's chapter 10, verse 3. Perek Yud, Pasuk Gimel. Kila, so now there's all these Rishonim. What's a Rasha? So Rabbi Rav Hirsch translates a Rasha as someone who's lawless, someone who's evil. But what does evil mean? There's so many different levels of evil. Everyone, has a different definition of evil, and not just that, but everyone has a different definition of evil for them and evil for themselves. Like when you see someone doing something, you call them evil, but if you yourself did the same thing, you might give yourself excuses. Thank you, Khan. Oh, then it went back up. It just changed again. Okay, so the Rasha here is called someone who's lawless, and no. Yeah, okay, keep it like that, Chana. Keep it like that, then that's called muted. Someone who's lawless, and he makes believe that he's a good guy. No, you just took off the mute. It's going to start making noise again. So, and he's telling everyone what he wants to do, and yet he makes believe that he's righteous. Now, who fits into that category in terms of modern political leaders, all of them, they all have certain aims and goals, political and power struggles, etc. They all have that. And yet they make their will known. Listen, just today, the president of Iran said if America kills him, then he's happy to die for the sake of his God and his religion. So you can't win with such a person because there's nothing to threaten him or her with. And they make their will known. We spoke about this last week. We don't understand how could it be that Iran can shamelessly in the UN proclaim that they want to destroy the Jewish state, which is real lawlessness, which is real genocide, and yet they're in the UN. So none of that makes sense. That's called a Russia. And here the next pasuk we have again, Russia could go vapo. That Russia, he's so haughty, he's so arrogant. Bal Yidrosh, he keeps saying, no one's going to pay attention, no one's going to come after me. Ein Elohim kol mizimotav. And he says there's no God, chas v'shalom, in all of the basic, in the way he behaves, in the way that he's behaving. So who is it in this world that says that? Now they're all claiming to be God conscious, right? Trump says that he's conscious of God, and the whole Iran is talking about how they believe in God. Everybody's calling out in the name of God. But what are they saying in the name of God? Kill this, kill that. Parak Yud Pasuk Daled. Kill this one person, kill that person. That's what they're proclaiming in the name of God. When God himself wrote in the Torah, don't kill. So how do you say kill in the name of God when God says don't kill? That's called a Russian. That's called a person who takes the law into their own hands, who makes believe that they're in charge of the world, who's arrogant, who's boastful. You really can't get a position in the government unless you are arrogant and boastful. If you just focus on pure issues, no one is going to pay attention to you because it's boring. You have to be arrogant and boastful. You have to say lashon hara, evil and slander, and lying about your opponents, etc., etc. That's what Rabbi David Melech is talking about here about this particular Russia. Now we're going to see in a second something very, very, I think it's very remarkable, and that is that the person who the Malbim says that why are the Rishaim of this world, why are the evil people of this world allowed to hurt innocent people? Why is that? Why is it tzaddik v'ralo, rasha v'tzoldo? So the Malbim says something amazing. He says like this. Now let me just read the next pasuk, and then I'll tell you how we have to be very careful not to fall into this category. His whole this Russia, this bad guy, who's taking advantage of everyone and who's planning against everyone. At all times, he says like this. He says, he thinks that he's going to succeed, or she. And all of his tsarim, all of the people who go against this bad person, he blows them away. He blows them away. He shoos them off. He says, no, I'm going to succeed. There's nothing you can do to stop me. Like the mafia, right? The mafia, they just go and, they have a contract to kill somebody. They just go and do it. They don't, and they are religious people. The mafia, I think, are religious Catholics. I think, I'm not sure. I don't remember having, here in Israel, we also have a mafia. Just yesterday, there was a car that blew up because it was a mafia guy, an Israeli mafia guy, who somebody killed him. There's a lot of, there's criminals, there's crime all over the world. And it's so sad because really, you don't go into crime unless someone teaches you how to be a criminal, whether you've seen it on TV, whether you've seen it in school as a little kid, you've seen people do things. Criminals don't just spring up out of nowhere. If you were on a desert island, without in a society crime is not one of those things that people think to do unless they've been taught or unless they've been conditioned or unless they've been groomed. Sadly, it's a sad thing to say. All of us in the Western world are like that. So the Malbim says like this: why is it that this parak of Tehillim is talking about a particular person, this Rochel, who's arrogant, and he's telling everybody what he wants to do, and he thinks he's making believe that he's religious and that he's God, he's blessing God, right? And he's saying that no one's going to stand by, no one's going to stop me. Not just that, but he also says Hashem is not paying attention. You know that one of the 13 ikarim of Emunah, one of the 13 principles of Jewish belief is that God is paying attention. It's not just that he's the creator and the all-powerful one, but he's involved in every single detail of our life. Hashem is recording everything he notices, everything he knows. Everything is happening within him, so to speak. But the Rasha is a person who doesn't think about that. Or they think that God's not looking. Or they rationalize and say, I can steal from him because he stole from her. And we do this all the time. You see, we have to now make this relevant to us. We're not talking just about an enemy, a political enemy, the head of Iran, the head of America, the head of the state of Israel. We're not talking about those abstract people. We have to make it relevant to ourselves. And so when do we stop paying attention? When do we have our mind wandering? When Moshe Rabbeinu said that in Mitzrayim, da'at was in exile. What did that mean? It meant then, and it means now, that we just don't think. We're not paying attention. We get distracted. When do you have tests? When does a test happen to you? When you're not paying attention, all of a sudden you forgot, or you stumbled, or you got carried away, or you, whatever it is. That's when we get a test. We don't get a premeditated test. In other words, when Hashem tests us, he doesn't say, okay, I'm going to accept with David HaMelech. He did that, and even David HaMelech failed that test. But when Hashem tests us, it's not like he allows us to prepare and get all psyched up and, hang out with all these good people and stay, at the Kotel or by Kever Rochel or whatever. He springs a test on us, and we fall for it. We fail for it, right? And so so we have to always ask to be paying attention. That's what da'as means. Da'as does not mean knowledge. Doesn't mean we don't know the law. If we don't know the law, then we're not held guilty if we break the law. Of course, we're supposed to learn the law, right? But let's just say that you didn't know something. It was really something and you really had never heard of and you broke it. Or, I don't know, they say that, let's say you woke up one morning, you weren't sure what day of the week it was. Is it Shabbos? Is it not Shabbos? There are certain things that we're not held responsible for. But we have to pay, we have to learn, we have to try our best, but we're not held responsible legally for them. But the things that we are held responsible for, it's a matter of paying attention, being always a sharp-minded person, not just knowledge, but paying attention, being attentive to a situation. Keep it constantly talking to yourself and saying, what does Hashem want? What's the halacha? What am I allowed to do? What's appropriate? What's this person going to think? How's this person going to think if I do this? How's this person going to think if I do that? That's called das. That's called awareness. And you know that's such a big topic now in the world of, whatever, the world of psychology, the world of pop psychology and pseudo-psychology and all that. So this Rasha, what does he say? He says God's not paying attention. Now, if you ask that person, do you think God pays attention to you? He'll say, yes, of course he pays attention. What happens is that God's attention slips his or her mind. We're not paying attention to the fact that God's paying attention. And that's what David HaMelech calls a Rasha, a bad person. A person who forgot the law, but he didn't forget the law. He forgot that there's a lawgiver. And he forgot that the lawgiver is constantly paying attention. And that's why the Talmud says that you don't do a sin unless a ruach shtus enters you. A ruach shtus means a spirit of like folly, insanity. You don't do a sin unless you can plead the insanity plea, right? That's true because a yetzer hara goes into a person, and a negative thought a negative inclination, a warped idea of reality. And that's called a roshtus. It warps our mind. It warps our idea and understanding of reality. And we begin to make a whole philosophy of life based on that warped idea. And a person could live their whole entire life with that warped idea, with that incorrect idea. That's called the das is in exile. And this Russia, he says, God's not paying attention. Of course, he doesn't say that. If you ask him, he'll say, of course, God's paying attention. But the person themselves is not paying attention to the fact that God is paying attention. And that is very dangerous. And we fall into that category all the time. We forget, we get so involved in this world. That's the difference between a tzaddik and a regular person like us. Tzaddikim are constantly with the mindset of watching God watch them. God is watching me. God is with me. I am with God. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid. I'm with Hashem. He's with me. And because of that consciousness, they train themselves. It's not about that they're born like that. They train themselves to ignore the things of this world and to ignore themselves and their own ego and even their own needs and to focus on Hashem. That's what a tzaddik is. Uh-oh, somebody is not muted again. Now, the Malbim says like this. The Malbim says, here, let me do one more pasuk and then I'll explain to you what the Malbim. Amar bilibo balemot l'dor v'dor. This Russia says, Amar bilibo balemot. The Russia says, I'm never gonna fail. I'm on a high. I'm successful. I'm protected. I have all my investments protected. Someone sent me today such a nice video that I already sent it out. It shows the difference between the Titanic. It shows the Titanic and how when the Titanic was built, the builder of the Titanic said, not even God could sink this boat. It was built in those days, right? With the technology and the knowledge they had then, everything was like sealed together. There was no like seam. Even the seams between the pieces of metal on the outside and the inside were all sealed with all kinds of layers of metal, and there was no way that water could get in. And as I said, the builder said, only God, not even God could sink this. And look what Hashem showed. Hashem showed that you're joking, right? And look at the Noach, the Teva. The other most famous ship in the world was the Tevat Noach, the Noach's Ark. What was Noach's Ark? It was made out of wood, not metal, not steel, not forged with bolts of whatever. It was made out of wood, covered in tar. Didn't have a steering wheel, didn't have any navigation, no power, complete helplessness. And Noach said, okay, that's it. My life is in your hands. Our life is in your hands, Hashem. And Hashem himself sealed them in. Hashem himself sealed the ark on the end when they went inside. Then he sealed it. But what was it made out of? And then the whole world was destroyed. The water was so hot. The water was hot, and there were boulders, and there was lava. The whole flood was a complete destruction of planet Earth. That's why there are some people, I think Rabbi Miller said this, that when you find fossils, sometimes you see fossils that say things are millions of years old. It's because the flood aged the planet as if it was millions of years old. That's one of the answers of, how can they find these fossils and they date them so long, so old? Because the flood was the waters. It wasn't just water. It wasn't just drowning the world. It was hot water, destructive water, acidic water, and the ark, was made out of nothing, and it survived. It's all about ego. It's all about who's in charge, me or God. If I'm in charge and I build the Titanic and I rely on the Titanic and I say, Amar b'libo balemot, and I say in my heart, I'll never stumble. I'll never be destroyed. The door vador forever and ever. Asher lo bira. I'll never ever have any ra in my life. I'll never have any ben in my life. That's what the ego says. And what does Noach say? Noach says, okay, you tell me to do this, I'll do it. I don't know. I'll do what you say. And then Noach survived. We all come from Noach. So the Malbim, now I'll go back to the Malbim. The Malbim says like this: whenever you have, and this is going to be a little bit of a sting as a sting for us. It's a sharp statement that the Malbim says. He says, whenever you have anyone that's lording over another person. Let's say you have Mr. A, and he's rich and he's powerful, and he is taking advantage of his employee, Mr. B. Now, why did Mr. B is a nebuch, he's getting pushed around and he's getting financially, taken advantage of and all of that. Why did Mr. B have to suffer under Mr. A? Is because, listen to this, Mr. A believes that everything is according to nature, and I'm strong and I'm powerful and I have investments and I have friends and I have all that. And Mr. B also believes that. Mr. B says, Nebuch, he doesn't have friends and he doesn't have money and he doesn't have power and he doesn't have investments. But if he did, Mr. B says, but if I had all the stuff that Mr. A has, I would also be on top of the world. So the problem is that both Mr. A and Mr. B have the wrong hashkafa. They have the wrong attitude. They say, I'm in charge of my life. I have to work hard and I'm in charge. I have the steering wheel of the Titanic. And because Mr. B has the wrong hashkafa, he's suffering under the hands of Mr. A, who also has the wrong hashkafa. But if Mr. B would say, wait a minute, Hashem, you're in charge. It's not Mr. A. What is it inside of me that I have to fix? If something is going on in a person's life, the Gemara says this, and it's not a pleasant statement, but we have to learn straight. The Gemara says if something's going wrong in your life, you have to do tshuva. Try to figure out, what did I do wrong? Not that what he did wrong. He's being mean to me. She's being mean to me. It's their fault. It's her fault. No, it's your fault. Figure out what you did wrong and do tshuva. And if you can't figure out what you did wrong, then say, Hashem, please, whatever it is that I did wrong, please point it out to me so I can do a heartfelt tshuva. I can do a real tshuva, not just a superficial fake tshuva. If someone says to you, listen, you did something wrong, that's the biggest favor that they're doing for you, because you have the opportunity now to correct something. If everyone says, no, you're great, the other person's, wrong, it's not servicing you. It's not serving you at all. Someone says to you, listen, you really could correct your ben adam l'chaver, or you could correct your this and your that, whatever it is. Then we fix it. But amar b'libo ba'al emot, if I say in my heart that I'm never going to fail, and it's all about me, then the other person who also thinks it's about me, it's about themselves. They don't realize that nobody's bringing God into the picture. Now there is a concept of we don't understand anything. So let's say you have a person who is like Noach and who lets go of the steering wheel and who says, I'm not in charge and everything's in Hashem's hands. Let's say you have a person like that, and that person nevertheless is still suffering. We can't give answers to these types of questions. And that's okay to say that. The statement that I just said is okay to say, because I don't have the mind of God. I don't have the capacity of understanding. I don't see all of my previous incarnations. I don't see my previous lives. I don't see the other person's previous lives. I don't see the mitzvot that other person does. That the Gemara says that sometimes you have a really bad person, but they did certain good things in their life. So Hashem is going to reward them for the good things that they did. Now in this world, even though this world is a temporary world, but they get a temporary, reward. They get a good life here, and then they're whatever. They're discontinued. So we don't know the whole cheshbon. What we have to know is what we are responsible to do, and that is number one: pray, and pray, and self-examine, and love yourself. And forgive yourself also. You can't be. Rabbi Nachman says you're only allowed to self-examine once a day. You know that? Only once a day, because otherwise he says you'll be depressed all the time. So just when you're doing your private prayer with God, you can self-examine and say, Hashem, listen, I'm sorry about this, I'm sorry about that. I'm chaserli in this, chaserli, I'm not perfect in this, I'm not perfect in that, whatever. The rest of the day, be b'simcha, be happy, because you just, let it all out. I really would wish to get to the part of the parak that talks about when the bad guy gets fixed, but there are a lot of psukim now talking about the conversations and the mindset of the person who has a warped mindset. Warped. What does warped mean? Warped means you have a nice smooth piece of metal or a nice smooth piece of fabric, and then this happened to me not only once, many times. I was ironing, and I put the setting on too high, and the fabric, instead of getting smooth, got warped. It puckered. Did that happen to you? That's annoying, because once that happens, you've expanded the fabric, you've pulled it out of its natural shape, and it's very hard to iron it back in. So warped means you're starting out with the mind, and then you made a detour, and something is off. And then it gets off more and more and more. So the next statement of this warped person is, Allah piu maleh u'mimot vatoch. His mouth is full of curses and trickery, and toch is like meanness. Tachat l'shano amal va'avin, and under his tongue is amal, is negative behavior. Avil is like criminal behavior, we could call it like that, because avil and avin and avil are very similar. So avon is like a sin, right? So this person, he or she, his mouth is full of all kinds of lying and flattery and all the negativity coming out, all the way politicians speak. Now they're already thinking about an election here in Israel. So one of the religious Zionists said, yes, and what we're going to do when we're elected is we're going to get rid of Oslo, we're going to get rid of the Arabs, we're going to get rid of this. They talk so big. Never, ever has any of that taken place here in the land of Israel under any government. Only Mashiach is going to be able to fix this. But they say what they want to say. Words are cheap. Isn't that like an American English expression? And so their mouth is full of ridiculousness. And under their tongue, which means hidden speech, right? You know that when you take subliminal is when you take medicine under your tongue, there's such a thing in homeopathy, you do it like that, and certain vitamins you take under your tongue. When you place something under your tongue, it goes into the bloodstream quicker, because the blood vessels underneath the tongue are very porous, they're very open to receiving, and it goes into the blood quicker. So under the tongue means, in here it means it's a hidden speech, and in modern day language it would mean a speech that has a quicker effect, a sooner effect. Yeshev marav chaserim, b'mistarim yarog naki einav l'chel chayitzpon. This guy sits and a ma'arav is like an ambush. He sits in ambushing, trying to find people who are unsuspecting in these places. B'mistarim, and in hidden places, yarog naki, he kills innocent people. And he's always looking to see, is anybody looking? Is anybody watching me? We're not talking about a murderer here. We're talking about also a person who's waiting for the opportunity to say something hurtful, waiting for the right time to zoom in. I mean, we've all done that. That's the problem, is that here David Melch is talking about this really horrible person, but part of it is stuff that we have to fix in ourselves. When you just were waiting for the right, you were timing it just to hit. Sometimes you time it in a good way. Hopefully, every single one of these things, we can fill our mouth with good things and fill our mouth with, and under the tongue with beautiful things. And we should be hiding to give charity to people and waiting for the opportunity to help a person the best way. Every single one of these things has to be reversed to do it in the good. But it's scary to know that David HaMelech is talking about an enemy of his, and we sometimes mimic that kind of behavior. This is the same thing. He's like the same idea. He's hiding in an ambush, like Aryeh, and Aryeh is a lion. In his bisuko, in his little lair, right? Yarov lachtof ani, yachtof ani b'moshcho v'rishto. And he's lying in wait for a poor person. A poor, and now again, poor doesn't have to mean poor financially. It could mean somebody who you're waiting to trap somebody. It's terrible. Now we don't like. Now what's happening in the world? This is what's happening in the world right now. They're all trying to trap each. Every day we get another message. And one of the, I only read Alan Silver News, and sometimes I read the Arutz Sheva. And so in the Alan Silver News, one of the people that supplies them with information said, in the middle of the night, I just read it this morning, but in the middle of the night, he said, "I'm just so exhausted from all of these reports, back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to sleep." That's what he wrote. That this reporter said that. I forgot his name. Every 2 minutes before Shabbos, they're going to attack. There's these kind of planes coming in, those kind of planes coming in. Who's in cahoots with who? Who is supporting whom? Everyone knows that Qatar is giving all the money. They're behind all of this. They give money to Iran. They give money to American colleges. They give money to Hamas. And Trump says Qatar is his friend, and he's giving them NATO protection. That means if Israel would ever attack Qatar, Israel will be in trouble with America. Like who's on whose side? And they're all waiting for the exact moment. They said today that maybe Iran will make a preemptive strike, even though Iran is, they're all playing these games. It's so silly. But one thing I saw today that made me very, let's see. Okay, I really want to get to the good part. Let me see. Do I have time? Maybe I'll get to the good part. I saw today. There's Sorry. I saw today there's a very interesting guy. His name is Jake Turks. That's not his real name. His name is Yankel Turkashinti, something like that. He lives in Lakewood. And he's a Talmud of Rabbi Kessin. And okay, that's not what I just told you I just said it publicly, but he doesn't spout Rabbi Kessin's name at all, but he's always teaching. He learned with Rabbi Kessin. He takes those teachings and he expands on them, and expands them. So anyway, but he also works in the White House. And we talked about him a lot. Jake Turks, Turx. You can find him on any, you just type his name and you can find him on any social, whatever that's called. He showed today on one of the things that he sent today was he sent out he asked a question yesterday in the White House. He's just he's really a funny guy. He's a Chassidish guy with a long, a beard and long face and a big, big black kippah and a long rekel, a long coat. And he speaks a good English. And he speaks a perfect English. And he's from Lakewood. So he asked in the press conference, and they call on him often because he's anyway, so he said today, he asked the question yesterday, he put it on his thing today. He said, does President Trump realize that, does he ever think about the biblical implications of the things that he's doing, in terms of world peace and, world transformation? So the lady there who wears a cross, she's a real, religious Christian. She smiled and she said, I never really spoke about that. I never really asked him that question. And then Turk said, do you realize, he says, does he think that the MAGA movement, which really is make America great again, but also make the world great again, does he think that that's going to be a world movement, not just in America? And she said, I hope so. That's what she said. She hopes so. But meanwhile, he said like this, he was showing a conversation he had, this guy Turks was showing a conversation that he had with some non-Jewish, I don't know, politician or reporter or journalist, I don't know what he was, but somebody whose name was Mukar. It was a recognizable name. And the guy said to him like this, the guy said, if Trump attacks Iran, Persia, and wipes out the regime, by the way, Khamenei, if you look at his name, it says Haman in it. Khamenei, Khaman. EI. In the middle of his name is Haman. So if Trump deposes Khamenei, Haman, in Adar, the month of Purim, this guy said, then I will actually believe that we are in biblical times, and I will donate $100,000 Sefer Torah to a community in Israel. This is a non-Jew. So people are, when Turk says these funny questions in the White House, but it's on world TV. Everyone hears that question. Everybody begins to think, wait a minute, maybe this is biblical. Maybe there's something happening. Maybe this is prophetic. Maybe this is a prophecy coming true, which it is. So on one hand, you have we're talking about people who are trying to, the bad guys and the good guys. The bad guys are saying, God's not involved. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'll give my $20 to the church and absolve all my sins. I don't know what, or they don't believe, whatever it is that they're thinking. That's one thought. And on the other thought, there are people who are waking up and saying, there's something going on here that we just can't ignore. There's something bigger than politics here. There's something bigger and we can't, especially since no one knows who's on anyone's side. And that's a very important thing for me to reiterate and reinforce and repeat. Don't think that we know who's on whose side. No one knows who's on whose side. We only know God's on our side. God's on the side of the good people in planet Earth. But of the bad people on planet Earth, of which there are many countries, they're leaders of the countries, no one knows who's on whose side. And they're all waiting and lurking and waiting and like an aryeh, like a lion, right? We've had wars here that have the name lion in it. I forgot which one. They always give names to these wars. I think it's hilarious that they give names to wars. America also. They give names to these different, military encounters. What are you giving a name to? It's crazy. So he acts like a humble person, and but then in the end he traps people. That's what these bad people are doing. They act like a humble person. We have to make sure not to do that. We have to make sure to be honest. We have to speak our truth. Our truth has to be truth, the truth of truths. And we can't be a trickster. We can't be one of these mirmot, one of these sly. The nachash was called mirma. The snake, the primordial snake, or the consciousness of the Yetzer Hara is to cheat, to be dishonest, to be not straight and not straightforward and not truthful. We have to be straightforward and truthful and honest and humble and modest and doing tshuva all the time and trying to refine our character traits. And when I say that, when I just said that statement, when I say that statement at Neve, when I teach the girls there, when we learn together, and I say to them, did anyone in any of your universities ever say that statement, that you have to be honest and moral and humble and penitential and refining your character traits and sincere and trustworthy? And do they teach you that in college? Maybe in first grade, maybe in elementary school they talk about things like that, but that's not the conversation. The conversation is how to go out and conquer. And the tzaddik, the Yanuka, said this week that Eile barecha ve'eile basusim means Erev Rav are people who think that they can conquer on their own and that they're in charge and they're arrogant and they're pushy and they're loud and they're powerful and they're manipulative. And loud isn't always true. Sometimes they're quiet and manipulative. That's called Erev Rav. And Hashem doesn't want us to be that. Hashem wants us to be a good Jew. A good Jew is, again, humble and modest and compassionate and charitable and does the right thing according to godly standards and is not about their ego. And it's not about me first. Okay, two more psukim and then we're going to get to the good part. Amar b'libo shachach el histir panav ba'al ra'an lenetzach. And this bad person says, God's not paying attention. Again, it's repeating again. And there's different levels of shachach el means God paid attention, but he forgot about it. He has other things on his mind. Or, I did a crime, but so-and-so, Gambino, mafia guy, did a much worse crime. So it's true that I did a crime, but somebody did a worse crime, so they'll forget about me for a while. As they say, news is only news for 3 days. Brand new news is only like Tari, it's fresh and it's exciting for 3 days. That's it. After that, something else takes over. So Shachach El, Hashem forgot. He's Histir panav. He's hiding his face. Baliran lanetzach. He's not going to pay attention. People think that way, and we think the same thing. That's the crazy thing. I once had a cleaning lady because I started already cleaning for Pesach. So I once had a cleaning lady when I lived in America in Far Rockaway, and she was cleaning the stove and the fridge. That I hired her, just come and, because you have to scrub and stove and fridge. So okay, so she did what she thought was a good job. And then I came, I was watching with her, and I said, no, look, here's a speck here, and there's a speck here, and she's scrubbing more. And I said, look, but there's a little bit here, a little bit there. She said to me, lady, are you having an inspection? Is someone coming to inspect? I said, yeah. She said, what? I said, God. She thought I was crazy. It was one of these ladies that it was her first time cleaning for Pesach. People who, cleaning help, who know how to clean for Pesach, they already know. But this is the first time that she had ever cleaned for a person's house for Pesach. It was clean. If you looked at it, you would say, oh, it's clean. But then you look at it with a Pesach eye, and a Pesach eye, it's not clean enough. So people think that Hashem's not looking. Hashem's not inspecting. He is. Kuma Hashem, here's the prayer. Kuma Hashem, so get up, Hashem. Kuma Hashem, El Nesayadecha, Al Tishkach Aniyim. Please, Hashem, get up and already pick up your hand and don't forget all the poor people. Now, these psukim have the word, and there's a lot of kri and ktiv. I didn't go through the ones before, but I'll do this one. The kri and the ktiv, it's written one way and it's read another way. It's written anavim and it's read aniyim. So Rav Hirsch says that anav means humble. So you can have a person who's humble because he or she is thinking about the greatness of God and thinking about the potential that they had in their life and how they didn't fulfill it. And that humbles them. And what Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Jewish people, he said, I have a big soul. It's true. But if you had my soul, you might have made more out of yourself than I. It could be that you would have used the soul in a better way, in a stronger way. You would have accomplished more. I don't know. So his humility towards other people was, it's true I'm gifted, but if you would have gotten the same gifts, maybe you would have accomplished more than I. So that's one type of anav, humble. And also anav, when we contemplate and meditate about how great Hashem is. Hashem, like I just told you, the story of the Titanic and the Ark, at the Tevat Noach. The Titanic, great. The Ark, nothing. And yet the Ark survived, and the Titanic didn't. So we contemplate God, we become humble. But there's a second type of humility, and that's coming from poverty, lo aleinu. And that's why anav and ani, anavim and aniyim are written kri and ktiv. There's a lower level humility, and that comes from being beaten down by life circumstances. So here he says, Hashem, please get up already and lift up your hands and don't forget even the people who are humble only because they've had a hard life. People who are humble because they're great people, for sure you should help them. But people who are humble because they're not great people and life has pushed them down or they haven't achieved what they were supposed to achieve, and they're a lower level humility, but help them also. Kuma Hashem, we always know. We say that Kuma Hashem Yafus Oivecha. We say it every single Shabbos when we open the Torah, the Heichal, the Aron Kodesh, and we take out the Torah. Get up Hashem, Yafus Oivecha, and scatter your enemies. and let them run away before you. What does it mean to get up? Hashem is not sitting, he's not standing, he doesn't have any physicality. What does it mean? It means make us see that you're involved. Because the mistake of the person that we're talking about in this parak of Tehillim, his mistake is that he thinks he's doing all kinds of, he knows he's doing all kinds of mischief and bad things, and he sees he's having a good life. So he thinks that you're just not involved. So when you get involved, that's what it means, Kuma Hashem, get up. It means get involved, show the Hashgacha Pratit, show the Hashgacha Pratit. I saw another clip this week. People send me very interesting things. If you have something interesting, you can send it to me, only if it's kosher and if it's holy. So somebody sent a clip from, who was this? One of the yeshivas, I think. Very, very good. He said, why is there anti-Semitism? Okay, we know, Esav Sonei Yaakov, we know that it's a halacha that Hashem created anti-Semitism to keep us in our place and to keep us separate and to keep us from assimilating, and I have a lot of stories about that. But what's the psychological makeup of the anti-Semite is, I'm talking about one that has a brain. There are a lot of them who are just being paid or who are just have nothing to do with their lives, and people like that, they need a cause, so they can take up the cause of elephants in Africa, or they can take up the cause of whales in the North Sea, and they can take up the cause of anti-Semitism or whatever, Israel. So he explains that in this video, was very nicely done, that really, and this is something that we know, it's nice to hear it. He said that the fact that we are alive and a thriving nation with a reborn language coming back to our ancestral home after thousands of years of exile, where every single nation tries to convert us or kill us. And the fact is that we have a vibrant, growing, successful nation, and that there are more and more Balei Tshuva coming back to their roots, etc., etc. The fact that we have that doesn't make any sense. So it must be that we're cheating. It must be that we're in control of the world. This is the roots of anti-Semitism psychologically. It can't be that there's God. God forbid. It can't. That's what they think. It can't be that this is biblical and that this is the prophecies of the Torah, which says, the Torah says very clearly, I'm scattering you to all over the world, then I'll bring you back again. Right? That's one of the proofs. Rabbi, what's his name? I forgot his name. Rabbi Spiro, is he the one that did it from Aish, or Rabbi Kellerman? One of those two had a shir on, talking about how the Torah is real, because no one who wrote the Torah would have ever, if you were just writing it yourself, you would never have dared to make predictions that are so ridiculous, like, I'm going to scatter you all over the place, and then I'm going to bring you back to your land. Like, that can't happen. You can't prove that you can't prove that that's going to happen, or you can't predict that that's going to happen. So why are you going to write it in your book if you can't make sure it's going to happen? Only Hashem was going to make it happen, could write that in his book. So the video talks about how the nations of the world are accusing us of everything: cheating, owning the banks, owning the, manipulating the weather, manipulating the wars. We must be doing something, magical or satanic or whatever, because it can't be. Because why are we surviving? It must be that there's something else. Because the alternative to that is God is keeping his promises that he wrote in the Torah. And they can't handle that. So they have to make up all these crazy things. The Rothschilds and I don't know, all the crazy things that they think about. Come Hashem, get up, Hashem, come on. El Nesayadecha, Hashem, please pick up your hand. Al tishkach aniyim. Don't forget us, poor people. Don't forget us, poor people who are humble because of poverty and poor because of humility. Because why am I saying that, Hashem? It's a chilul Hashem. What's happening in this world, and with anti-Semitism and anti-Israel and anti-Jewish and anti-Torah. See, we have the anti-Torah stuff here that's going on in Israel, and it's terrible. That's what we say Kuma Hashem, because we need already leaders, pure, holy tzaddikim, who have no ulterior motives, no interests, no reasons behind, no financial, nothing. They just want Hashem's malchus. That's what we need. We need where it says in the Shemona Esrei, and we say this all the time, Hashiva Shofteinu K'Barishana. Please make our Shoftim, our judges and our leaders and our political leaders, please make them as they used to be, like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, Shmuel HaNavi, they all said, did I take a penny from anybody? All you gave me was problems and complaining and lashon hara against me, and I still led you. Because I want to do for God. I want to do everything for God. That's the kind of leaders we need, not people who have a big salary and who have protection and fancy cars and et cetera, et cetera. We don't need that. That's not real leadership. That's people who are making a business out of, right? That's their career. They're career politicians, but they're not leaders. We need Mashiach already to come and lead this place. Because Tehillim Hashem is a desecration of God's name. The fact that you could have what happened in Bnei Brak last week, the fact that you could have that itself shows that there's something imperfect in the system that created a situation where you have what we had then. And it's not clear even what we had. I told you once that I was once in a demonstration, not a demonstration, it was by the Rochel, it was a tefillah. I say these stories because it's so clear to me how you have these infiltrators who are being planted and, mischief makers. I was by the Rochel, it was by Gush Katif. It was 20 years ago, whatever, and however many years ago it was. And it was a big tefillah gathering. And of course, the government was against the government. So the government did not send any protection. There was no security. There were 100,000 Jews in the Kotel. There was the Kotel Plaza was completely covered. And up all the steps, into the whole entire old city was with people. And the people who did the organizers, they had to bring ramkols. They had to bring the sound system because the government refused to participate. They didn't give any security. There were no policemen. Anybody could have, with a bomb, blown up 100,000 Jews, chas v'shalom. Thank you, Hashem, that you didn't do that. Because the government would have been very happy had that happened, sadly. Anyway, I remember I was looking down and we were packed sardines. I came hours and hours early because I know I needed to be next to something that I could hold on to. I didn't want to be in a group of people. I wanted to be like next to the steps, next to a handrail so I could lean on. So I came a lot early and I was by the steps going up to the old city, right? By the steps like that go to the part of the old city that, how do I explain, like next to Yeshiva HaKotel, that area. And I was looking down. It was just a gathering to say Tehillim. We were waiting for the Tehillim to start, and it was packed with people. And of course, every kind of people. There was no mechitzas. It wasn't. You couldn't make a separation. But everyone was trying to be tzanua. Anyways, and not squishing next to. But we were all very, very packed, very crowded. And I looked down. I was on the top of the steps going up, and I looked over the railing, and I saw two guys. Now there was not it wasn't a yeshivish crowd that was there. The yeshiva boys were not told to come, and they didn't leave the yeshiva, and that was what they were supposed to do. But there were two guys dressed like yeshiva guys, and all of a sudden I saw them. They started pushing. Now there were guys pushing ladies, pushing, and if you have pushing in a crowd, you know what happens. Chas v'shalom. So I started. I couldn't I was like, my voice got lost. I was so appalled. And there was a guy next to me, and he saw. I pointed, and he saw, and he started screaming, "Infiltrators! Get away from them! Those are spies! They're trying to push you. They're trying to make an accident here." And everybody all of a sudden turned around, saw these two guys. Now, when you looked at their faces, you saw they were not yeshiva guys at all. I don't even know if they were Jewish, but they were dressed. They had a costume on, and they were pushing, and in such a way that they were creating a sakanat nefashot. Anyway, they ran away quickly. They like dived into the crowd and they ran away. So we have this. We have to know that it's a big chilul Hashem. And we ask Hashem, please, Hashem, get up, because it's not nice for your name's sake, for your name that we represent, and for better or for worse, the Jewish people represent God in this world, for your name. You have to help us. There shouldn't be anti-Semitism. There shouldn't be any of this silliness. And we shouldn't have these ridiculous leaders who make games with everybody. Anyway, let's hope by next week we have lots of good things to talk about. Right? Where is this? Here. I just want to make a siman in one of my Tehillims where we are. Okay, have a good Shabbos. Now, again, I said this shir should be an aliyas neshama for Leah Pines, Leah Bas Chaim Vasya, and it should be nechama for her children and for everybody who are students. I see we have students online from her. And Mashiach should come already, really, Mashiach should come already, and all the people who went should come back already, should come back again, and we should have a Geula. Bezrat Hashem, have a great Shabbos, everyone. Thank you for coming, and let's all get with the program and get there.
Thank you.
Hi Dahlia, hi Debbie, hi Geraldine. Geraldine, you sponsored the shir. That was your shir that you sponsored. Good. So your husband should have all blessings, all the blessings to him. Hi Ginny, it's good to see you. And hi Marcel, and hi Nomi, and hi Yudbadia, hi Pauline, and hi Chana, and hi Sarala, and hi Katie, and hi who did I say to? You're popping off my screen. This always happens. Hi Rosalind. If I said hi to you, then you could pop off. Hi Nomi. Hi Dahlia again. Hi Debbie, another Debbie. And who's at the bottom of my screen? I can't see Katie.
Can I just ask what happened in the end with the Yanuka? Because we came,
it was just a week ago.
last week.
Wow, the whole world. Okay, so let me tell you the end of the story. The end of the story was that about 1,000 policemen came, police, army, Shabaknikim, FBI, CIA, all these crazy people came. And the Rav said to the crowd, to the people, to this Talmidim, he said, okay, stay in shul, don't fight. I don't fight. I do things with derech eretz, and I do things with proper manners and with compassion. I don't want to push any Jew. I don't want any fighting here. And he made it, he doesn't ever speak strongly, but he said it very strongly. No one's fighting with policemen. No one's saying a bad word. No one's arguing. I'll take care of this. Hashem is going to be with us, and I'm going to speak to them. And the policemen were afraid, became so afraid that they stepped back. They said, Rebbe, please, we don't want to do this. Please make an arrangement with the mayor. Please, could you fix this? We don't want to touch any of your property. And then the mayor called, and he made an arrangement with the mayor. And not just that the mayor did tshuva. I don't know if it was the mayor or the pressure put on him. I don't know. But whoever was the area, the municipality, not only did they not touch the shul, but they actually said they're going to speed up the paperwork and make the guidelines so that no one could ever threaten that shul again. Because the paperwork was never done because of the bureaucracy here, whatever. So, but they did, and the compromise was that listen to this compromise. The Rav gives out free food every single week to hundreds of families, but it makes a little bit of a mess, and they don't have enough manpower to clean it up. So they asked him not to give out the free food. Instead, he has to make deliveries now. He has to arrange deliveries for hundreds of families, free food. Instead of bringing it, that they should come. Normally they put all the food in the chatzer of in the courtyard of the Beit Knesset, and that was easier for them. Instead, now they're going to have to make deliveries like Tomchei Shabbos. All of this is donated food, and all the hundreds of people that come to speak to the Rav every single week, the municipality said they have to find another place for him to do it because the shul's not big enough. So in the end. He had a victory. The Rav had a victory. And he said that victory is not just a victory for a private victory at all. It's about the victory of his method and his way of life, which is respecting every single Jew. He told the police, you're doing something illegal. He showed them the rules. He showed them the laws. He said, you're doing something illegal. I'm not physically bar you because I'm not going to touch another Jew. And it's better to have a shul destroyed than to touch the hair of another Jew. But you're doing something illegal, you're doing something immoral, you're doing something incorrect. And in the end, he had a victory, and they, they themselves were the police, and the destructive agents themselves rebelled against the municipality and forced the municipality to do the right thing and to leave the Rav alone. So thank you, Rosalind, for asking me that. It's been so many things have happened since then that I already forgot that a week ago we were having that tour. Exactly a week ago.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Good Shabbos, everybody.
Good Shabbos.
Did I say hi to
Good
everybody?
Shabbos. Thank you.
1 second. I can't see your names on my screen. Did I say hi to everybody? A lot of people went off already. I'm sorry. So remind me next week to start the shir. And hi, Zoom user. Remind me next week, Dahlia, to start the shir by telling everybody the end result of this. By next week already, we're almost by Purim. Whoa. Okay. Okay, ladies. Love you. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.